அப்பா ஏதோ ஃபைனான்ஷியல் ப்ராப்ளமா அது தீந்தா சொல்லி அனுப்புகிறாங்க.
அப்படி சொல்லாதீங்க. நான் முதலா கதாநாயகனா நடிக்கிற படம் இது நின்றுடுச்சுன்னா எனக்கு எல்லாமே முடிஞ்சு போயிட்ட மாதிரி. படம் கிட்டத்தட்ட பாதி முடிஞ்சிருச்சிங்களா? இப்ப நிறுத்தினா ஒண்ணு செய்யலாங்க. எனக்கு சம்பளமே வேண்டாம். இது வரைக்கும் கொடுத்தது கூட திருப்பி கொடுத்துட்டேன். எல்லார்கிட்ட நான் பேசுறேன். படம் முடிகிற வரைக்கும் யாருக்கு சம்பளம் வேண்டாம். எப்படியாவது மறுபடியும் தொடங்கிடலாம். வேற என்ன செஞ்ச சரியா?
உன்னோட அதிகமாக வாதாடி தோத்துட்டேன். இனிமே இந்த படம் நடக்காது. அவ்வளோதான். நீ உழைக்கிறத விட்டுறாதே. உழைக்கிறவனுக்கு கஷ்டம் ரொம்ப நாள் இருக்காது.
என் தலையில இப்படித்தான் எழுதியிருந்தா நீங்க என்ன செய்ய முடியும்? என் ராசி எப்படி? வேலு, வண்டி எடுங்க. ஐயாவுக்கு நேரம் வச்சு. எது எப்படி ஆனாலும் ஐயாவை மறக்க முடியாதுங்க.
No. Did you watch the new Drishyam film?
Yeah.
So like,
yeah. What are
how
your?
did you like it?
So I liked it. I actually really liked it. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, yeah, it was, to be honest, better than expected. I mean, I didn't like the trailer at all, to be honest. And, I was like borderline making fun of it because, okay, so first of all, Jeetu Joseph's film track, according to me, hasn't been that good post Drishyam. Okay. I've seen that Prithviraj movie that he did with him. And
Memories.
No. The recent after Drishyam.
That even I don't know the name.
Udram, right?
Yeah.
Udram, I think. That was quite average. Then I watched his You, Me, and a friend Ajit. We went to watch Adi, which starred Mohanlal's son.
Yeah.
You remember how horrible that was and how much I hated it. I mean, did not hate it actually, but I just didn't like it at all. And then I watched two of his recent films. One was Thambi with Karthi. I watched it on Setmax, and the other one is Body with.
Bro, where do you watch all this? Even I haven't seen anything.
Body is there on Netflix, I think. With Imran
Even I
Hashmi
haven't
and
seen like
Rishi Kapoor.
Uram and Thambi and all.
Uram I watched like long back when I was in college only, like at that time with Ajit and and Thambi I watched I watched the Hindi dub version on Setmax. So I mean I don't know, but in general all these films you wouldn't call them good films, to be honest. Okay, and that was the last thing that I expected was Drishyam 2 to be good enough or something that I like. I mean that will be like decent. I mean I didn't love Drishyam 2, but it was good enough. Like, how did you like exactly find it? Like,
No, before that, like, what were your thoughts on the original? Have you seen the original?
I actually, yeah, I've seen it twice now. I mean, that was not the first film I was introduced to Malayalam cinema with, but it was like the initial films, like probably like the third or the fourth film that I saw from as like a Malayalam film sometime in 2015, I think. And at that point, even in 2013 when Drishyam had come out, I knew about that film, and I was not the kind of person who knew a lot about like Malayalam cinema or even like northern or like the just the cinephile culture knew like a lot about Malayalam films at that point. And everyone like Drishyam was like a very known film at that point. Like everyone had watched it and like great reviews, great thriller, twist ending, whatnot worked for it. I liked it when I watched it. I understood where that whole film was, but I watched it very recently. Actually, I watched it just before I watched Drishyam 2. And to be honest, I didn't like the first 45-50 minutes of it. Or like the first hour of it actually.
Yeah.
Because I didn't warm up to that whole acting style again. Okay. Except like Mohanlal's acting. Like, he was
and like
terrific,
filmmaking
even.
also, just in general. Like, the...
Right. But what happened was right after that hour mark when that tragedy strikes on the family and all those things, I think Jeetu Joseph just went like on the fifth gear itself, and you're like just speeding into that whole film. So you don't have a lot of time to think about anything as such. Okay. Leaving that, it's just that everything became better and better as the film progressed. Even those certain moments when they came up, like you really got those chills. When their family is being tortured, there's one shot where you see that Sehadev's face, and behind you can see like George Kutti's youngest daughter, and you could feel that dread, like something bad was going to happen at all the points. So I mean, he knew he was building those certain moments at that point, and even on rewatch, like Drishyam works for me in many ways. Okay,
Yeah.
and but one thing also that didn't work for me was Asha Sharat's acting. I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
didn't like, I actually liked. I mean, this is not a controversial statement anyway, but I actually liked Tabu's performance in Drishyam more than this one. Like the role, the kind of portrayal, that upright, uh, I just could feel
Yeah,
Tabu's
yeah, it's.
dominance in
I
that role
think.
rather than
Maybe
Asha
that was his
Sharat's.
first role or something. I mean, Tabu is like as experienced as anybody can
Oh,
be, and I think she came
okay,
from
okay,
this
okay,
kind
okay.
of TV serial like soap opera background. So I mean, that's
Okay, okay,
kind of
okay, okay.
reflecting in her acting also, I suppose. I mean, but I mean, yeah, I mean,
Uh-huh.
Tabu is obviously really experienced. So I mean, you can't really compare the
Right.
two.
But what's like the significance of Drishyam at like Malayalam audiences and cinema in general since like released?
I think it was just a really big hit at that time, and it was this one common movie that everybody liked. Like all kinds of audiences kind of flocked to it at that point, and I saw it kind of late. I saw it
Okay.
maybe like 6 months after it released, and in I think like the first 2 3 months you couldn't even go near the theater. It was that packed because somebody was coming out with like a big movie and it's like a big actor and yeah, and it was getting good reviews also. I think it released in some festival period. I mean, that's all I remember. Like I saw it like 6 months late, or not, maybe not 6 months, maybe like 4 months late or something after everybody had seen it. So yeah, I mean, it was like I think Mohanlal himself described it as kind of this aftermath of a murder kind of movie. I think he said it's like done in the style of Hitchcock, like like Psycho
Right.
or Vertigo or
Right.
something, where like the murder thing happens and then it's like what happens after that they focus on.
Right.
I mean, that comes more in
Right.
the
Right. Right.
writing itself. As same thing with this movie. I think like the writing is like the standout aspect of it.
Right. Right. Right.
We talked about how a lot of that soap opera, TV serial kind of dynamic is there here, and like just the general style of filmmaking and lot of the side acting as well. I mean, that's just. I mean, I am willing to like look past that. I'm not hung up by that whole thing because I mean you've seen a lot of movies like that in India, right? Which are like
Right. Right. Yeah.
full of sentimentality and kind of
Right.
overemphasized acting, all of that. I mean, a lot of exposition. I mean, people, I don't know why certain people who are reviewing the film are acting as though they've never seen movies like this in India before. I mean, okay, I get it if it's like some foreigner saying it. But then there are people in India who are seeing it who are pretending as though they've never seen movies that have sentimentality and all in India. I mean, like, are they like 10 years old or something? Just 15 years back, people are making movies like this on a regular basis.
You're talking about Drishyam 2 only, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Even in the first half
So
of
so
Drishyam 1, you can see a lot of that
yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
soap opera style of doing things.
Yeah. I mean, it's not wrong to do it, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
purposely like old school style, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's not like a director who's trying to make like some perfectly like some
Right.
new age artistic creation or anything. He's just making like commercial cinema. That's all.
Right. Right.
And like his strong point is obviously writing, and that kind of shines through in this second movie, especially. Even in the first movie, but then
Right.
here
Right.
that
Right.
is like the main thing.
Right. I mean, also one more thing. Like, tell me, like, you watched like 4 months later. Did you get to know the twist and like,
No, actually, like
the
when I
twist
went
ending?
to see it, I think somebody had told me like wrong things about it. Somebody said this is about a guy who watches a lot of movies and then solves crimes using like what he's seen in the movies. I mean, that is such a vague description about it, and it doesn't.
That's like a bad way to like tell a plot. Also, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, like I didn't, and I'm watching the first hour, and none of that thing came up at all.
Yeah.
And that is just a side thing in the first movie. Like it's not like the main focus of it or anything.
Yeah.
And so when I saw it, I mean, again, I also like the last 1 hour or something like that more than anything else. But
Yeah.
I don't exactly remember like how I felt the first time. I remember liking it. That's all.
I think why Drishyam 2 worked for me all in this space is because I think it's based exactly in the same world. Like you see more sequels, right? Most of them don't even have like they're like mostly like quasi sequels. They don't even have like good connections to the previous part. This wasn't the case here. It was like like a very good extension to the first story itself, right? Like it didn't want to tell you another story. Like it's the same story
Right.
of what you thought was like a very good ending to, right? But and those extensions work for me also because they're like very natural to the whole process. Like PTSD is a very natural process to that whole aftermath. At some point after watching the first film, rewatching the first film, I was just wondering towards the end itself, like, okay, I think the second part could be about, the whole trauma this family actually faced.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what it was about. And I think that was the best possible solution to, just writing the film. And also, okay, why people's, I just read like a lot of reviews where they were like, you can skip the first 45 minutes of the second film and watch the film. I'm like, you're an idiot to say that, okay? And this is not even about being subjective with respect to the film. This is just pure, good writing actually, Without that first 45 minutes, the other half of the film won't work at all, right?
Yeah.
Like you actually have to get to know the family, you have to get to know the dynamics. And you know what? I actually liked the first 45 minutes of this film more than the first part actually.
Yeah, same.
Worked for me. It worked for me better, and since I watched it back to back, I had like a clear idea of what it was in the previous film. So the dynamics worked better, the acting worked better, and like the interpersonal relationship between him and his daughters also, there were a lot of things that, Mohanlal was doing with his eyes, with his expressions, that, any normal family would do instead of spitting out dialogues in general. So I think those small things actually worked for me in like small ways. It just built up to the fact, he cares so much about that family. You could feel it. So whatever actions he takes later on become very realistic to that character in that film.
Yeah, it makes that whole relationship of the family more real and like more grounded in a sense. Because I mean, you're going for like very what do you call it, extreme things happening after a certain point. So I mean, you need some kind of foundation before you go there. But yeah, anyways, like even the first 45 minutes, I think there's a lot that you can pick up on when you watch it like a second time. Like I saw it second time and then I just forwarded through it on Prime. And the thing is, in this one, the first hour, it's not just the family drama thing. It's actually setting up so many different things that pay off later.
Right.
And you can see like a lot of details also, okay, right? From this point, I think we can give spoilers, right?
Let's give spoilers from here on. So anyone who hasn't watched, please don't watch it anymore. This is now we are going to get into spoilers now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of spoilers here, such as like what happened. So just go watch it first. So I think the second time I watched it, I noticed a lot more details. Like in the first scene or something, there are these neighbors who are fighting, right? Like who later turn out to be like ploys, but then small details, like they're fighting when these two are out in the open, like they're behind their house. That's when they start fighting. So he's like incorporated small details like this. And also like just from there itself, like then it goes to like the scene where the main character, he's going to this tea shop, which is like the center of discussion in that whole town. And like in the first scene itself, he's like giving stuff from his farm and saying like you can sell it for free and all. Then I noticed like this is actually like the one guy in the whole town who's like rooting for him, right? That I kind of noticed that this is kind of him appeasing that guy, like making sure that he spreads the word that this is a good guy. Like he's the one who later says that we are all fans of him, like we all like him, he's like a good guy. And right when he's entering that tea shop itself, you can see him kind of like looking around, like it's just very subtle, just eye movement kind of thing. But he's constantly surveying the place. Like he knows that this is like a place where one topic of discussion can get out of hand, and everything can turn on them. So I mean, right from the beginning they're building up a character who's like aware of the whole surrounding, like who's cognizant that these people might start off something that can snowball into like a whole issue for them. Because people, everything can spread by word of mouth. So he's like, he's appeasing the tea shop owner, like the one guy who's supporting him. Then there's this thing like which comes out in the writing itself, which is like this idea of visuals, which is right there from the first movie itself. Like, okay, he's like getting all his, street smart knowledge from watching movies. That is one aspect of it. So that there itself, there's the idea of visuals. And then it's about who saw the thing happen. And, there's the guy, he shoots the video of his daughter. This is all in the first movie, I'm saying. And the same idea of visuals is sort of carried forward. Like, again, this guy is loved movies from earlier, so now he's like a theater owner. And he wants to make a movie. And in the end, they say, we weren't observing him. It was the other way around, right? So because of that, there's this thing of like he's setting up CCTV cameras earlier, which is like exactly that. He's observing them.
Right. Yeah.
And he's basically looking at the police station way before like these guys are, planning to trap him. And also since most of his knowledge comes from watching movies, like all his ideas are also like very cinematic. Like the... And just... everything that he comes up, like all the tricks and all, it's like very cinematic. And then like this plot itself, somebody or the other is always trying to make a screenplay out of it. First, like the younger daughter's friend in the school, he's like, I'll make a short film out of this. This is like a good idea for a screenplay. You're thinking, oh yeah, this is a good idea for a movie. And then he himself is like going with that script in the end, So,
it's a very sly meta touch to the whole proceeding.
Exactly. There's a lot of meta moments also. Like he's clearly like a cinema lover, and there's one point where he says, "Oh, this guy is teaching me about movies or something," and like you can see how much like that is his knowledge base in his head, and that's all coming out in the writing also. Even in like. Although there is that kind of sentimental style of shooting things, and when something like a twist is revealed, it's like doom 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 and all. But then there are some moments which like make up for that. Like there's scenes where the whole scene starts out with this guy behind the bars of a window, and looking through them, and you notice like each member of the family at some point or the other is framed behind these window bars, and that's kind of like. Like a ominous thing, like these guys might end up in prison behind bars. That's the kind of thing they're going for.
Yeah, right.
Like the mother is looking through the bars when she's like talking to that undercover
Sarita
cop. Then the daughter is looking through and she sees somebody, like she's hallucinating or something. All of those things. And the meta moments, it's like he himself says at one point, like he's talking about the novel that he published to avoid that copyright issue, and he says this is not a suspense thriller, it's just a simple family movie, and that's kind of like representative of the movie itself,
right.
And I think I don't know, I mean, did you find any like loopholes that were like glaring or anything? I mean, I didn't think of anything like that.
Me neither, actually. I don't know if there are any. I think so. There are maybe. Because I wasn't thinking like logically. I was just thinking, believing whatever was happening. So I didn't really have like problems with all of those. One thing that also really worked for me, I was just thinking about it, like how well Jeetu Joseph just expanded this whole world. Earlier it was a little more family centric, right?
Yeah.
Now it's a little more expanded. Like it goes to the people of the place as well, right? Where them talking also snowballs into a lot of things actually. It affects in some way the family in some way. So I was just thinking like it adds more characters, and I really liked Murli Gopi in this. And there was another thing I wasn't expecting, because he's extremely natural in it. That's a very good thing, because I was believing whatever he was telling me. I mean, with respect to the context of the world, it works even better, I think. That is another thing that I like. And just the fact that it feels like a lived-in world. At this point, after watching like 2 movies, most of the places in that town, right?
Yeah.
The geography of that place. Like what people are going to be there at the tea stall at what point. So that is like another great quality I really liked. I think that is all really good writing.
Yeah.
And the thing that he was like leaving out like fragments of information, and I was wondering at some point, like towards the middle, in the second part, it became a little too sluggish because I was like wondering, like, where is it going now, right? And in this part, George Kutti isn't too dominant of a personality as a whole. So what happened was, like, I was wondering, like, where are they taking from this point? Like, why are these fragments of information given to me? And the way it came together, all of it, it just worked 10 times better than how it should have actually, like in my opinion.
Yeah, and
So,
I
I
think
mean,
like the
that's
kind
that. I
of like loopholes or anything that should have been covered up did get covered up. Like for example, the guy who saw him in the beginning, who when he's burying the body in the police station,
Right.
So
Body.
you might ask, like, why didn't that guy come out earlier? So like they established that this guy went to jail immediately then, and then only after 6 years he's coming back, right? So stuff like that.
Right. That's a very good writing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean stuff like that is
That's
the
very good
stuff that can be
stuff you do.
striking loopholes, or like stuff that can you may think of immediately when you see it. I think those they did a good job of covering up. So I mean, somebody was I just saw something on
Right.
some site, I think Facebook or Instagram or something, where they're saying like why that he's giving them the remains of the body in the end. So isn't that like evidence for them? And I'm like, I don't think this is even a question to ask. Like, what kind of I mean, it's so like I didn't even think of that in the end. Like, I was just good with whatever happened till then. And
Right.
yeah, I mean, what did you think of like the acting in general? I mean, let's just talk about the main characters. Of course, there's a lot of side characters who are kind of overdoing it. I mean, that's just I think he just got a lot of non-actors to come and play all those smaller roles.
I actually didn't have an issue in this one. I don't know why. Maybe I was because in my headspace I had just watched the first part. So when you watch like a certain film and you're like into the world, you get like the style of acting just gets imprinted on your mind or subconscious or whatever. So I couldn't find really like that kind of acting in this one actually. That's what I was telling you before. Like the kind of acting worked for me in this one because probably I watched the first part, or maybe it was like good, or maybe it was like better by the regulars in this film. And like in the beginning only itself, when he's like starts with those people sitting at that bus stand or whatever, he's shooting them from very far behind, so it looks like someone is observing them. So they're also acting very natural to that whole aspect, that they don't have to perform in front of someone else. Even Narayanan Nair is acting as like Suleiman, right? He was also very a very endearing quality to his acting. I mean, I'm picking out very specific things. I mean, it's not even specific, it's just the general acting. I really don't know what to say about like Mohanlal's acting, because like he was like beyond excellent in both these films. Like I mean,
And he
that's
does
like a
all
standard
these,
that he's built.
He
like,
does all these kind of small things that add to that characterization.
right.
This is a guy whose decisions are driven by fear more than anything else. Like some people, like you can think that this is some cunning guy who's like scheming and planning and all, but then it's more like he's just trying to stay out of dodge. Like just fear is driving him more than anything else. And also that is one layer, and then the second layer is he can't show his fear to the family. Like if he shows his fear to the family, they'll start freaking out.
Right. Then the family collapses.
Yeah,
right.
and you already have one daughter who's dealing with this post-trauma kind of thing, and of course he can't reveal that side of his to them. And if you notice, like when a guy comes, this whole thing is revealed, and a guy comes to their house, and they're all standing in front of that house. Him, his wife, and his daughters, and the guy who comes running reveals that not reveals, like he asks him, like, did you bury this guy under the police station?
Did you bury? Yeah.
And so if you see his reaction, he's not turning around at all. Like his family is behind him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't turn
behind,
around.
and they're like looking at him like, what happened?
Yeah, like that's such a good decision by him, like he's just standing there, and just I saw it when I saw it again, I noticed like his wife comes from behind, and there's actually a shot of him framing him from behind. Like they just show his back and his back of his head. His wife joins him in the same like line of sight, and only then he kind of looks at her alone, and then just with his eyes he looks back,
Yeah.
like to see how they're reacting.
Yeah, right.
So I mean, like small things like this he does, I think it really adds to the. And I said before, right, when he goes to that junction where he knows that this is the place where, you know, the talk of the town can spread
Right.
rumors and everything. Whenever he's
Right,
there,
right,
I think
right,
he's
right.
there in around 3 scenes or something. He's like constantly just looking down, but then he's like also surveying people left and right, like just with his eyes.
Right.
And also towards the end, like, you know, when the case gets quashed or whatever, he's coming out, and he's coming out of the court, and Murali Gopi is there, and they both just cross paths, right? And
Right.
if you notice, he doesn't smile or anything, like, because he's not happy with this. Like, he knows this
He's
is
not happy. Yeah.
he's still in like
Yeah.
the, what do you call it, like, he knows the stuff can still come back up, and, you know, he's just
Right, in
escaped
some way
in
or
this
the other, yeah.
situation, that's all. And so he's not happy about
Yeah.
it. Like, he's just got like no expression. Even outside, he sees like the dead
Yeah.
boy's parents,
The parents.
Cop
And
and
the
his
director.
wife. I mean, the cop and the husband. And he doesn't really look at them. He just glances at them, and then he just goes. Like, he doesn't smile, or like he doesn't act
Yeah.
like some criminal mastermind who just got away with it and all.
Yeah, he's not.
Yeah, I mean, so that I thought, like, he's got that kind of really good understanding of the character that makes him, you know,
Yeah.
put all those small decisions in every scene, basically.
I mean, even like the character was supposed to be very, you know, practical with things, you know, little pragmatic in his approach.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how he did in the acting as well. Like, you know, he was very, you know, practical with whatever he was doing, you know. There wasn't any overreaction to anything.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, he knew some or the other reaction would result into, you know, everything was calculated. Not just
Yeah.
his moves, but also his acting, you know. Any other reaction would also get the views out of that experience, because they know he can't do something which collapses his whole family or his whole ploy or whatever.
Yeah.
So I mean, he was a little smart about everything, you know, as an actor as well. And in a lot of reviews, people are talking about Crime and Punishment, like, and you spoke about, like, what's your take on it actually?
I mean, just this
I mean,
aspect
just the
of
philosophy. Yeah.
Yeah, just this aspect of like somebody who has committed a crime. Okay, this is not, of course, this is not a person who are, even the wife or the kids,
Yeah.
they're not like, you know, criminals or anything, you know, they're just out of self-defense,
Yeah.
they did an act of crime like this. And because of that, you know, and this guy is just a normal guy, he's got a 4th grade education. And anybody who like commits some kind of sin like that, you know, they it won't just leave their mind. And I think that's the Crime and Punishment aspect of it, where, you know, somebody is murdered, and even if they get scot-free, like, okay, the law is, you know, not behind them, or nobody's, you know, suspecting them, I think they still will be haunted by this thing that they did. Like, that's the idea of Crime and Punishment.
Right.
And I think towards the end, that is this. And you talk about like the acting, being aware of this. I think this is also a character who is constantly doing something else. He's like acting in front of his family also. Like, he's doing something else on the side. Like, he can't reveal his plans to anybody, like even the people who are part of his scheme. Like, he's not revealing the bigger picture to them. So it's like a guy who's like carrying all that load in his head.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you'll recommend this film, right?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, see, I mean, if you think there's the kind of over sentimental touch to it and you don't want to watch it, yeah, fine. I mean, that's your choice. But then, I mean, I don't think that should be a point where you say that just because of that you want to reject everything regarding this film. Because I mean, okay, I do think majority of the audience is liking it. I'm just saying this based on some reviews and all that I've seen.
Yeah.
Especially on like Facebook, Letterboxd and all. I mean, those are just snobs, I guess.
Hey, but then there are also people who are like going completely like balls out crazy for this film also, right?
Yeah, I think it deserves it. Like, I really enjoyed watching it. Like, there was never a boring moment in the whole thing. Especially towards like the halfway point, I was just like, what is going to happen now? Because it was literally like, okay, this you can't get to a point where this secret is revealed. Like they can't go to dig the police station, and then they actually did it. So I was like, what is going to happen now? Like everything is revealed, and he's admitted it also. Like now what will happen?
I think that is the point where it became a little more interesting, because what had happened was, I really like the idea of us also of us knowing the two sides of the story, actually, not just the two sides. You know, because we knew that those cops were spying on them, right? And those characters don't know, so it was always, you know, in my head like what will happen now. But at some point, I don't remember when, but it became a little too boring because the story wasn't moving ahead, because I wasn't getting any more new information at that point. It was only around that point when, you know, they're all cornered, that family is, you know, literally cornered into something, and you know, okay, now there's no escape. Like, what is going to happen now? Like, what is the twist that people are talking about in this film?
Yeah.
Right. So at that point became a little more interesting, but in the middle it was a little too, not boring. It just became a little too sluggish.
But I think
but
if
not
you
so much.
rewatch it, I think those parts pay off a little bit more.
Maybe.
I mean, I think maybe you can say it could have been like 15 minutes shorter, but I mean that's like very, you know, nitpicking. Like I don't want to say that also. I mean it's pretty good as is. I mean, I don't want to like pretend to be a critic or anything about it. It's very enjoyable.
Considering Jeetu Joseph's last movies, this film feels like a masterpiece in all of that. Okay. So, you know, for people who claim that Jeetu Joseph is a mastermind, haven't seen a lot of his older films, actually. I mean, this is a very good film. I'm not saying this is not a good film. I'm just saying I had literally like lost my temper watching that Hindi, The Body, the only Hindi film he made. So I had zero hopes. I was like borderline angry at what he made, you know, and I almost hated it. So, I mean, this works. I mean, this is good. I liked it. So, okay, yeah.
So, I mean, that's it. This was a quick episode. Just some quick thoughts on Drishyam 2, which is, you know, going pretty viral right now on OTT. Let us know what you thought. Subscribe to us. Follow us on Spotify. DM us on Instagram. Whatever you thought of the movie. Yeah, that's it. Anything else, Sanjeev?
No, just like, should we ask Amazon Prime for, you know, sponsorship for this one?
Yeah, sure. They are waiting.
Yeah, thanks. Prime Video India, please sponsor us. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, cool.
I'm stopping now.
വളരെ മോശമായിപ്പോയി. ഒരാളുടെ തന്തയ്ക്കൊക്കെ പറയാന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ, പക്ഷെ അയാൾ എന്നോട് അങ്ങനെ പറഞ്ഞോണ്ടല്ലേ ഞാൻ മോശമായിപ്പോയി. നീ ഇപ്പൊ വിളിച്ച് സോറി പറഞ്ഞേക്കാം. ഒരാളുടെ തന്തയ്ക്കൊക്കെ പറയാന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ. ഹലോ, ദുരക്ഷല്ലേ? ഇപ്പോഴേ ഒരാള് വിളിച്ച് തന്റെ തന്തയ്ക്ക് പറഞ്ഞില്ലേ, അത് ആരാണെന്ന് തനിക്ക് അറിയാം? ഞാനോ? ഞാൻ തന്നെയാ തന്തയ്ക്ക് വിളിച്ച ആള്. ഞാൻ നിന്റെ തന്തയാടാ, തന്ത. അയ്യോ, ഒരാളുടെ തന്തയ്ക്ക് പറഞ്ഞു എന്തൊരാശ്വാസം.